There might be a crazier take on the Walz becoming VP. I just feel it from the look of this video, ladies and gentlemen. And you're watching House Sparks Mega Worldwide. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wax figurine of Roger Stone that was left on the hood of a car. I'm kidding. That's the actual Roger Stone. Talking about Tim Walz. Tim Walz, radical by Minnesota standards. And then it says Fine Point. That's the name of the show. We were just watching Flashpoint. This is Fine Point, neither of which are true. That other show's a bit flashy, but not a flash. And then Fine Point, I don't know, whatever. Minnesota Madness, breaking down the Walz pick with Roger Stone. This is on OAN.
Joining us now to break this down is
it's Chanel Leon, the woman who teed up questions for Trump and was one of the first people to kind of like incognito ask pro-Trump questions to help him basically stay on topic. They need you, Chanel. You shouldn't be there. You should be wearing a baseball hat, pretending to be a reporter from, the Iowa Times, asking him questions to get him off this whole fucking sharks and with laser beams on their freaking heads point.
And who has gone up against Humphrey and Mondale before? Roger Stone. Roger, welcome back to the program.
Great to be back with you.
How is the Walz pick?
It's great to be back with you and drunk.
Different from past progressive Minnesota picks like Mondale and Humphrey this time around?
Well, there is this important difference. Lyndon Johnson, of course, had been a lifelong segregationist, had led the segregationist bloc.
And then ultimately signed the Civil Rights Act. So you guys have never forgiven him for being, a race traitor? Also, obviously not baggage that Walz has. What's your fucking point?
In the Senate, as Senate Majority Leader, had blocked every meaningful piece of civil rights legislation in the 50s.
And then went and signed it.
He was chosen for the 1960 ticket with John Kennedy to give the ticket balance.
Also, does he have gas, or is someone goosing him with a cattle prod under his seat for $20?
And he needed a more liberal.
It's like every time he's sitting there, it's just kind of like
vice president, really to give him license to expand the Vietnam War, among other reasons, and also because he overnight changed his position on civil rights. In the case of Walter Mondale, the situation is similar. Jimmy Carter had been a dark horse candidate for president.
Yeah, totally. That's every time when I think of Jimmy Carter, I think dark horse.
He was viewed as a more moderate Democrat.
Yeah, moderate Democrat / dark horse.
He wore those, flannel shirts, tried to give the impression he was a conservative Democrat in some places. And
that's what flannel did back then. And then grunge came in and fucked it up, I guess. At home drawing pictures of mountaintops with him on top. Lemon yellow sun. Are you conservative? Not exactly.
Walter Mondale reassured the left.
Maybe part horse. We don't know. I'm Mr. Ed. Mr. Ed. Woo.
Left wing of the Democrat Party. But here, Kamala Harris has chosen someone who is just as left wing, just as progressive, just as out there as she is. Now, I think.
Yeah, because there's always been that like California, Minnesota thing. I blame Soundgarden, really. So, there's like a Seattle Junction. Yeah. I'm looking California and feeling Minnesota. Oh, yeah.
This was a process of elimination. Barack Obama made it very clear to Kamala Harris and her team that he believed, had they chosen Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, that they would have lost both Michigan and Minnesota with their large Muslim American Democrat constituencies, Shapiro, of course, being Jewish.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry, there's a decent amount of Muslim voters out there, not pivotal enough to change not enough to shed a candidate. Sorry. And you would gain enough just by having somebody Jewish on the ticket. Fucking ask Joe Lieberman.
Mark Kelly from Arizona, the other real contender here, his campaign kind of imploded when we learned that he's actually partnering with a Chinese communist company that makes the kind of surveillance satellite balloons that floated across the United States during the Biden administration.
Biden administration.
Collecting data for the communist Chinese. So I think by process...
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about that. As an operative, I felt like they released that a little bit too prematurely. I know it was a story that was actually put out, but, you know, it didn't get legs until he was actually considered in the running. But it seems like strategically, operatives would have released that a little after it was too late.
I don't know what the fuck she's talking about.
Well, unless, of course, it had the desired effect, which was eliminating him from contention. So if you buy the notion that the three final contenders here were Shapiro, Kelly, and Walz, by process of elimination, they got to Walz. Now,
They did? Oh, my God. When did that happen? So the other two guys aren't the vice president now. And they're not, so Walz isn't the vice president now because Biden's still president. And yeah, this is so confusing.
may have thought, as Richard Nixon once said to me, when looking for a vice president, don't look for someone who can help you, just find someone who won't hurt you. But
and he chose, hold on. Here we go. Hold on. I want to find, what was that? This is, fuck you, silly thing. All right. Here you go. The fall of Spiro Agnew. After long weeks of buildup of insisting of his innocence upon accusing government officials of plotting his downfall, sound familiar? Of vowing that he would fight to the end, the denouement of Spiro Agnew debacle came with stunning swiftness. His hands trembling slightly and his Palm Springs tan bleached white with tension, Agnew walked into a Baltimore courtroom last week and admitted that he had falsified income tax in 1967. When he emerged half an hour later, Agnew had been transformed from Vice President of the United States into a convicted felon. Sorry. What did Nixon tell you about picking a running mate?
that the three final contenders here were Shapiro, Kelly, and Walz. By process of elimination, they got to Walz. Now, they may have thought, as Richard Nixon once said to me, when looking for a vice president, don't look for someone who can help you, just find someone who won't hurt you.
And he should have known.
But the longer we look and the closer we look at Walz's record, I think there's a lot of damaging stuff here. First of all, there's the whole question of stolen valor.
No, there isn't.
His entire political career, he has done his military service, but as J.D.
He's a National Guard member. Not on, he didn't pretend to take a fucking hill. He hasn't claimed that he got a fucking award he didn't get.
Vance pointed out
he served honorably the entire time, asshole.
This morning, when his unit was called up to go to Iraq, well,
he had already filed to retire.
He dropped out. He didn't serve. He declined to serve. That's just one great example. And then there's the question of his conduct during the Antifa BLM riots in Minneapolis in
the George Floyd protests.
2020. He waited 3 days after the mayor of Minneapolis asked him to activate the Minnesota National Guard. And then he retroactively blamed that 3-day delay on the mayor, which makes no sense because only the governor, not the mayor, has the authority to call out the National Guard.
Right, but in Minnesota, it's based on a formal request.
For 3 days.
Unless it's, like a natural disaster.
Minneapolis burned. Millions of dollars worth of public and private property were destroyed. People were injured. Some people were killed.
For all our viewers asking where
Jesus, that's the end of it. He's just gonna, that's where they cut it off. Yep. That's the end of it. They decided that was enough of what he was saying, and it wasn't going to get any better. I don't make these clips. I just take them as they come.